And good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Monday morning here in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm not sure if it's beautiful where you are, but hopefully it is. Man, let's just dig right in here for a moment. Yeah. The huge convention was absolutely incredible.
It was
man.
good. It was
the huge convention
awesome.
was absolutely amazing. We had a blast, learned a ton, learned a lot there, right? What was your number one takeaway?
I had a lot of takeaways.
Number one?
Man, I think just meeting all the people there were 2,000 individuals there that had signed up and showed up. And so think about all the different pressure washing companies that, are in 2,000 different people. And so, I don't know for what it is like for you guys, but sometimes when you're cleaning, you're like, am I the only one doing this? And then like you show up to the huge and you're like, whoa, like there's so many other people out there that are struggling with the same things that we're struggling with, that are like excited about the same things we're excited for. And it's like a family reunion. It's like the family you never had.
Yeah, we really did get to experience. We really did get to experience a lot of that. Got to meet a lot of people. Kyler Clark is in here. He says, "What's up, guys? Kyler here from Moore's Exterior.
What up, dude?
Got to meet him. Got to hang out a lot with the Moore's boys.
Yep.
That was a ton of fun. But, anyways, thank you for being here this morning. Like always, it's a total highlight of our week. We feel honored and blessed to even be able to sit down and just have time to do this. Whether people listen or not, we enjoy it. So let's jump in with just a little bit of prayer here and get right into the episode. Lord, thank you for today. God, I pray that you would just, as always, that you would just increase, Father, we would decrease. I pray, God, that there would be no egos involved in anything that we do. Father, I pray that we would just continue to open up our heart to you. God, you continue to bless all of the businesses that jump inside of here. God, continue to put favor over our business, protection over our families, God. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Question for you.
Hit me.
What was the highlight from this weekend for you?
Oh, man. That's easy. The highlight from this weekend for me was we've been just going. Okay. We're not typically the guys who stay out late at night. We're not typically the guys that, don't see our families at least once a day. But this past week, we had the huge convention. So we didn't see our families very much. And I would say a highlight from the weekend for me was I just disconnected. I turned it off because I really didn't. I mean, there was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I really didn't even see my family. Friday evening, I did a little bit. But anyways, the point being, just turn it off. And last night I had this like moment where I'm laying down on the floor with my daughter. She's playing with some blocks or something. There's, football going in the background. The lamps are on. It's kind of like a whole vibe. And I realize I'm sitting there. There's candles going. It's like these are the nights that you live. And then you look back and go, dang, I wish I would have taken a moment to just sit down and like appreciate that.
Wow.
A little bit. And so I did. I just, had other things that I could have or maybe even needed to do. And I decided to kind of cheat on those things and just spend some much needed time with
It's almost
family.
like you're watching, like it was like a
out of body experience,
like a movie almost. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think that's beautiful.
Well, while you were enjoying your put together home, I was enjoying our totally deconstructed house because we moved yesterday.
I remember.
And I would say my highlight was yesterday morning. We had not picked up the U-Haul yet. We moved everything yesterday, but this is before we moved. We were moving boxes from our bedroom into the living room, so it was going to be easier to load the U-Haul. And you actually helped us do that. But before everybody showed up, I was just thinking about what I was doing. I was taking all my stuff and I was taking it out of our room. And I started to think like, what if I was just someone else doing this? Like, what if, let's just say, and this sounds really dark, but what if me and Kendall died and like someone was just moving all of our stuff out of the house and they were going to sell it, donate it, and they were going to put the house on the market and someone else was going to move in there. And it was like, I heard this guy say one time, You're done playing the game of life. All the pieces go back in the box. Now that could be that quote could be mixed up a little bit, but the concept is we're all just playing with someone else's game pieces, and then when we die, it goes to someone else. And so that was like a pretty profound moment that I had yesterday.
Yeah, a small epiphany moment.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of those as well. I was headed down to my bachelor trip, and I'm a Monopoly freak. I love playing Monopoly. I love dominating people at Monopoly, and I like to not lose at Monopoly. So that's why you haven't played me win at Monopoly. So, anyways, we're gonna breeze by that statement. We're headed down to my bachelor trip, and two of my closest friends, they know how I am about Monopoly, and they knew that we were going to play. They stop off and get me this like 60-year-old vintage Monopoly board. Now, I'm ashamed to admit it has since been destroyed. It got set underneath luggage and stuff. I didn't pack it, but somebody else did. Anyways, it got destroyed. The moral of the story was when we pulled that out of the box, I had a feeling or a thought or a moment where I'm opening up this box and you can smell the mustiness that's coming off the old paper, you know, the attic smell that's there.
Yeah.
The crispiness of all of the old paper where it seems like really good quality paper, but it's been sitting so long. Now it's kind of like you could crumble it and it would just be dusty. So I'm getting these smells and I'm like, man, how many people before us have sat here and played this game and have had fun or had crazy arguments or won the game, lost the game? And it really is that principle of like, what kind of legacy are you going to leave behind? And then the question is like, how do you leave a legacy behind as well? It's not just like, are you going to? It's how do you do it? Because I'm like playing with these things. I'm just having this moment where I'm like, man, there's so many people who've played this before us. And that is the game of life.
Oh, man, that's giving me chills.
I know. It's so good. It's so good. But today we're going to be chatting a little bit for first and foremost about anything you guys want to chat about. If you're in here, you have questions, like let's say you were at the Huge and you have questions that you walked away from. We don't necessarily always have all of the answers. We're in similar positions as everybody else, but we like to have a collective effort to answer those questions. So first and foremost, what we're talking about today is anything that you want to talk about. So if you have something, drop the question in the chat. Also, if you've ever liked to be a part of the show, we have two awesome YouTube producers that are sitting behind these cameras that you guys can't see. So if you would drop that in the chat as well.
We should get them on the other side of the camera sometime.
That would be fun. We should be filming you guys right now.
Just turn the cameras. Eventually. Or maybe we should just keep them a secret.
Yeah, but one of our favorite things to do is to get people on the show and interview them and just put a man in the middle and jump right into the business. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat. If you'd like to be on the show, drop that inside of the chat. We can send you guys an email. But other than that, we are talking about systems, services, and operations today. And there's a little bit more in depth of like as it relates to system services and operations, the scalability, implementation of systems, supply chain management. That's a really good one.
This all just sounds so boring.
It could sound boring. It depends until we start telling the stories about how we're failing miserably at it.
It sounds boring, but when you think about how it relates to leaving that legacy, it's so important. And actually, this type of stuff now, based on how you look at it, is what gets me excited for work. Because that's kind of what we're doing now more so than ever is we are working through creating systems, identifying problems. We're doing all this stuff. And so it is a ton of fun.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's like where decisions that you're making when you're implementing decisions have a butterfly effect, and that can be good or bad or better or worse. Kyler says he's interested in jumping on the show at some point. So Kyler, if you just send an email to that social at brownspressurewashing.com, we would be happy to get you on the show. We actually walked away from the Huge with several people that will wind up being guests on the show. Some people that are doing much better at the game of business than we are inside of the pressure washing, window cleaning industry, home service industry. So we will definitely have lots of fun material coming up for you. And also next week, just a little preview, we do have a guest on the show for next week. I know it'll be Labor Day, right? I keep saying Memorial Day. Those are interchangeable in my brain.
We got Payne coming on.
Yeah, Payne Stockard from Eden's Way Pressure Washing and Window Cleaning. He's here in our hometown. So, and he's going to be on. It's a great show, and you guys will really, really enjoy it. So,
all right. So let's just jump straight into it. Question for you.
Hit me.
Can you think of, and if you need to think about it, I've got one. All right, I got an answer.
You got something dialed up.
What is the most memorable growing pain that you can think of that was like, how do we, like, because we're getting bigger, because there's more leads, because there's more guys, because there's more trucks, we're having this problem?
Oh, there's so many.
I'll go ahead and start. I'll start.
Go ahead.
I know for me specifically, I'm over the operations side, the infield guys, trucks, equipment, everything like that. And so as soon as we had more than one truck, things started disappearing and magically reappearing on different trucks. And it was so frustrating for the infield teams of like, where's my wand go? Why don't I have any surface cleaners? Where's my ladders? And it was a huge problem inside of our company because we just couldn't keep track of anything. And so we had to come up with a system to keep all of the equipment on all the same trucks. And so we color coordinated things. We created truck checklists. And so we implemented these things to help solve these growing pains. And it has been a huge game changer and has made work so much more enjoyable for the whole team. And that was a system that we created out of thin air.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like the word systems, at this point, I've said or heard systems more than almost any word I've ever heard in my life in the last like 2 to 3 years. So the word systems can become redundant, but the importance of the word never really fades away. And one of my responses to the initial question that you asked is going to have to do with our missing compadre here. He also moved into a new house and today is kind of putting some of the finishing touches on that move. So he's not able to be with us, but we do miss Mr. Joshua today. So, but one of mine would come from, I think it was an issue that he also had when he was still like selling work. And that is narrowing down services. That sounds silly. Okay. It sounds silly, but when you're growing, some people have a natural tendency to just say, yeah, I can do that. Somebody asks, can you caulk this fireplace? Oh, yeah, sure. I can do that. I mean, everything's got a price tag attached.
It's easy to do that when you're smaller.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's like, and then you end up finding out, oh, man, if we streamline the services that we offer and we just hit heavy, the really good ones, the house washes, the roof washes, the flat work, the gutter cleaning, the building washes, and narrow it in. Lit Dog 78 says he's from Bristol, Tennessee. Bristol.
Let's go.
I like Bristol. You been to the raceway out there at all? That's such a cool area of town. Anyways, so for me, it's so hard to say that's the number one because there's an infinite amount for me, but narrowing down services is certainly one of the most difficult because if I get in front of a customer, like if the team is not the one selling and I get in front of a customer and they're like, hey man, can you just pop this floodlight up in there when you're up there? I'm like, maybe, it just depends on what you're willing to pay. And then you got to also realize you're sending the guys out there behind you to really do it. You're not the one doing it. But the point is narrowing down services, charging really well for what you know, which is the second part for me, is the raising of prices. Yeah. That has been, believe it or not, some people that are normally at this table would say I would have no problem with raising prices. But I do. I feel that pain. I know that we've got customers who've come to us for the last 6 years and, every year or every 2 years, the price goes up a little bit. And price hikes, you get to a place in my mind, where you end up pricing yourself or can price yourself out of the market. And my brain, I'm just sharing with you guys really candidly where my head goes on this. My brain goes, there's somebody younger, hungrier, and faster than me that will take all of those things and build a beautiful foundation off of it if we price ourselves out of those returning customers. And there is a need for it as you're growing and scaling. Your COGS just go up. There's just a reality to that. Yeah. And so that's a tough one for me. So those are kind of two in the same coin.
No, it's good. And when you're first starting out, you definitely have a lot more agility. You can move, you can bounce around, you can do the small odd and end jobs. You can start by becoming your neighborhood's handyman, but by narrowing down, you're actually going to narrow up. You're going to scale up, because having all of these other things that you're doing,
there's just so many irons in the fire that the fire can never collectively get larger. Yeah. Like you can have one giant bonfire of house washes, driveway cleans, gutter cleans, and fences, or you can have a lot of little fires that never really warm you up, because you're also doing, fire, chimney caulking, stuff like that. Kyler gets in here and says, such a good point. And I feel that same pain. We implemented a color coding system to where each truck has its own color of ladder, wand, brushes,
let's go,
and etc.
You'll have to let us know how that goes, man.
Yeah, so that sounds like it's on the operations side, some of the things that he's doing. I think the color coding is good. And that's another point, is like it's really simple sometimes. It's really color coding sometimes. That's simple.
It is simple, but it's a little bit of effort that is not necessary. Yeah. It's a little bit of effort that's not necessary or urgent. It's a priority. And that's another thing, is like when we're talking about these systems, most of the time, building a system is never urgent. It's never urgent. But the more you choose not to create the system, you're choosing to think about that problem again and again, and again and again. And it's like, don't solve the same problem twice. Solve the problem and then support the solution with a system.
That's good. When you think about it this way, if you're solving the same problem multiple times, your system is inside of the people that are in the company. It's not a system, it's a person. And so I catch myself all the time, like answering the guys' questions, especially out in the field. We've implemented a lot of like upselling strategies. Now I've got guys texting me every day of the week, this is what I got, this is what, and I'll send them a price back, because it's like in this moment, it's so small and I don't have enough time to do a system. I just say $149. And that's not the, at Chick-fil-A, they don't have people, they have systems. They pop a Chick-fil-A store up. You're going to get the same chicken sandwich anywhere you go, and you're going to be told, my pleasure. Scott hates it when I bang on the table. He hates it when I do that. But you're going to be told, my pleasure, and it's going to taste great. It's going to taste like you got it from Hendersonville, Tennessee, or wherever else in the world that they have a Chick-fil-A. That's the beauty of systems, man. Systems guarantee as close to perfection as you can get. They guarantee it
really good,
because it's been decided.
It's really good.
It professionalizes your business.
And people don't realize how much of themselves is a system, like what you were saying.
So true.
And so here's a cool exercise. Like if you're like, okay, there's a lot in my business right now that like I'm a little overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I would ask this question. If you had 1 year left inside of your business, I got this question from Jim Dubois at the Huge Conference, but he said, if you have 1 year left inside of your business, and after that year's over, you can only spend 3 hours on your business a week, what are the first systems that you're implementing? And that takes your mind from thinking the guys aren't scheduling things correct or pricing things correctly, so just call me and I'll help you do that. Mm-hmm. Just call me. Hey, if you don't know how to clean this, just call me. That eliminates that. You shouldn't be the system. And so what are the things that you would first do? And we needed to ask ourselves this question.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of things, like we are the systems for a lot inside of our business, but it's a sanctifying process. It's slowly, one after another. And so ask that question to yourself. What are the first, second, third priority systems that you need to create, and do it? It doesn't have to be perfect, but actually sit down on a document and go, this is the first step of doing this. Second step, third step, fourth step. Doesn't have to be perfect.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, and you guys too. As an entrepreneur, sometimes it's like the quickest solution is the best solution. The right now solution is the best solution. Being okay with systems taking time to not only even come up with and build a system that your team can get behind, but then implementing the system, being okay with time taking place. Because like if you were to look into our business, for sure, him over the course of the last 5 to 6 years has been the system. I have been the sales system over the course of the last 3 years. Now we're figuring out how to put it on paper, how to make it scalable and repeatable so that we can pop a location up just like a Chick-fil-A and somebody gets the same quality service. It's like it also takes time.
Yeah.
And there's a balance between using time as an excuse or an scapegoat to using it and maximizing it to get the best return on that system implementation as possible.
Yeah. And it might feel like, I know in our business, if we look at one thing that kind of looks boring, it's a system, it's like, like how important is this? And you put a lot of focus on that, it feels like you're losing ground. It feels like, man, I could be doing so many other things right now instead of focusing on,
I could just be selling or cleaning this amount.
Right. And you could be. And you could be doing a lot more if that system was built. So it's an investment. It's a time investment. It's not a quick money grab. You're putting these things into the 401k, and the 401k for your business is the systems. This is what's going to take you long-term success. And so keep building that foundation one after another. Be disciplined in that. And you don't make it perfect. Plan, do, study, adjust. Plan it, do the system, try it out, study the results, and then adjust the system based off of the results that you're getting.
I think at the end of the day, if everyone here will just understand that it's a constant progression. There is this thing in all of our minds as human beings that there's a destination that we're going to get to, whether that's in your personal life with a certain amount of money, a certain amount of time, a certain amount of stuff, or whether it's in your business with actually all the same things. In your head, there's a destination. I think just knowing that the constant progression is actually the destination in a weird way, where you're constantly growing and changing and learning and adapting. There is no place. There is no destination. There are points, there are checkpoints where you can relax more. Maybe once you accomplish all these things, you get a little bit more freedom, a little bit more time. Maybe once you accomplish X amount of revenue, you get a certain amount of money inside of your salary or whatever, but it's not a destination. It's just a checkpoint. So knowing that the systems that you're building are changeable and editable as your business scales and grows. Like, for example, Kyler with the color coding, and I'm just spitballing, I'm using it as an example. There may come a time where color coding may not be what you need because now you have 15 trucks, and it also could be that color coding
you've been using colored electrical tape, and you've got more trucks now than there are different colored electrical tape. And so it's like, well, shoot, now we need this truck's red and blue, two colors. That's a systems issue that's you're facing.
Yeah. And so just knowing that things are editable, you're on a journey, just know you don't have to have too much pressure to think it's just a final thing, which is, for us, there is some implementation of like automated responses and automation, different tools that we use to streamline the process. Now, candidly speaking, especially in the sales side. So like when you ask the question 1 year, you have 1 year left in the business and then you move to like 3 to 5 years. I believe that what you look at the longest becomes the strongest. So it's kind of difficult for me to venture outside of the world of sales and maybe a little bit of like marketing side of things I think about. But in an effort to be just over the whole capacity of the business, if I was just doing it on my own, I think I would really focus on strategizing the systems heavy for the office side and then the technician side. Because if I had to work a little bit on the business after that fact, I mean, obviously I'm going to try to get systems in place for every single department.
Right.
And I think inside of a year, I could professionalize the whole business to make everybody behave the same on every single job on their part of the job. But I want somebody in Oregon to get the same experience in Oregon that they're going to have in Nashville, and just feel like, oh, well, you guys must have started in Oregon, because this is just, I want everyone to feel that same exact way. So I think I'm trying to professionalize the system where, just like a Starbucks or a Chick-fil-A, you get the same cup of coffee or you get the same chicken sandwich. And it doesn't mean that it's redundant or boring. It means it's professionalized.
Yeah.
So I think I'm working on, and I could go into specific systems, but I'm working on all systems all the way around to just completely professionalize the business.
Yeah. And I would say that we are really heavy, like what Brady's saying. We're working very hard on making this a professionalized business. And it's hard because when you start to build systems, you feel like it's detracting from the personability or like the intimate culture of your business or the family business feel, when in reality, it's freeing you up to focus on those things a little bit more and to focus on your team more. And if you're starting a business, you might think, well, the guys I don't like this structure, so why would the guys like it? Well, they're not the ones that started the business. You know, these guys, your team might really enjoy the structure and might really need it. So do it for the team. Don't do it just for yourself.
We have a direct story as it relates to that right there that I'll share in a moment. But like, for example, when you say that professionalizing the business means it takes away from the family aspect, I'm like, how can we recreate that on a large scale?
Systemize it.
It needs to be a part of how you treat people.
Company cookouts.
And you're building team culture. But for us, we started what's called a level 10 meeting. It comes out of the book EOS, correct? Out of Traction.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Level 10 meeting. So we've got different department heads over certain areas, and we're doing this first meeting. Josiah looks up at the end of the meeting and he says, wow, this was the most boring meeting I feel like I've ever been. He says that to the whole team that we're showing this meeting to. One of them pulls me aside afterwards and says, dude, Josiah said this was the most boring meeting that he's ever been a part of. And I'm telling you, this is what we needed.
Yeah.
And, we're both thinking systems and structure. Why would you want to be told
I was
what you have to do?
I was excited for it. But when I was looking at them, it looked like their eyes were glazing over. And I'm like, this is a boring meeting.
They all
we were trying to explain it, but the meetings now are freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's really helped.
The room's getting loud. People are almost talking over each other. That's the sign of a good meeting. Our whiteboard has got
like
words
a flow chart
and circles and arrows all over the place. And I'm like, how have we not been doing this every single week?
Yeah. And then it's important to have and we're diverting a little bit, but at that point, when you do incorporate like a level 10 meeting, I would encourage you guys to read the book Traction and learn about how to incorporate some of those things in there, because man, for us, it may feel like you have traction, but a lot of times I feel like we're just dumping on the gas and the wheels just spinning. We're like, this is so awesome, and like everybody in the back seats going, what's happening?
They're blindfolded and they don't know where we're going.
And so like having the right person driving the car for the level 10 meeting is also very important. Like it doesn't mean that you have to be driving the car all the time.
Yeah.
It means sometimes we can let somebody else drive the car. So like we've got a guy, his name's Eli. He's excellent. He drives the car during the level 10 meeting. So he writes everything out. He makes sure that we stay on time. He sets timers. My personality absolutely hates it. I cannot stand feeling like I can't talk longer than a certain amount of time or whatever. Then we walk away and he sends a very detailed email with all of our action steps that we must complete before the end of the next week.
So maybe the system that you are going to create should not have you in it. Like literally, you are probably not the guy. Yeah. And that can feel like, no, I can do it. Like I'm the guy. I can do anything that I put my mind to. And you're right, you can. But you're going to use 80% more effort than someone who's like their mind is specifically designed for thinking about structure and systems. A number one personality on the Enneagram would be perfect. The perfectionist.
Yeah.
Like Eli he's our point Dexter. He is a baller.
Yeah.
And so we get these ideas of these systems and we send them to Eli and he does it. We don't run the level 10 meeting. We're a part of it.
We're an attendee of the level 10.
Yeah. So we show up and we're like, all right, Eli, take us through the meeting.
And man, he's in the right seat on the bus in that time. I mean, think about it like this, man. I hate to use this as an example, so just forgive me ahead of time. But Elon Musk doesn't build Teslas.
No.
He doesn't start the spaceship. Jeff Bezos is not delivering an Amazon package to your house. what part of the business, and I'm not saying that we're those guys at all.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but there's a part of realizing you may not be the right guy for what this is, even though you just want to work as hard as you can and you want to do everything. You're going to stall the growth of the business by constantly being involved. There are better times to pull yourself in and out of things. Like, recognize that we've made mistakes in pulling ourselves in and out of things like too quickly or waiting too long, and that you can stall the business that way too. But know that if you're just constantly trying to work as hard at every single position that you can only work so hard. You can, if the owner of the company, like if Elon Musk was doing every part of Tesla, he wouldn't even have a car built yet, much less one sold. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you are that and that we are Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, but I am saying that it's important to have self-recognition and know what you're good, what you're best at, and what you can give your guys the best of.
I would say we were at the Huge, and I've been referencing the Huge quite a bit because it's just so fresh on my mind. It was Brandon Vaughn. He said one of his best hires was he hired someone that was smarter than him and who was better at business than him.
Yeah, that's good.
And that is the sign of, like, if you're afraid to bring someone on who's smarter than you, that's an insecure leader. Don't be the insecure leader. Find the guys who are more talented than you in different areas.
Yeah, 100%. And it's easier to hear that in a moment, but when it's your turn to actually act on that, it's like when it really takes the strength, to relinquish some of the relationships that you've been having for, quite a while or whatever. But we're excited for next week. If you're not already subscribed, please hit subscribe. I think that it's been a ton of fun being a part of this YouTube channel. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep giving. And again, that doesn't mean that we're totally the only experts who know absolutely everything, but it does mean we know a little bit, and we know that we're on a progression, that we're always learning. Where we are today will not be where we are tomorrow. And we're trying to continue to learn and be better. And I think a community of people helps everybody collaborate to be better in every day that they're living. So, we just want to thank you guys again for jumping in this week. We're looking forward to next week, so have it on your radar. Mastermind Monday starts at 9 a.m. every Monday morning, Central Standard Time.
Hit the bell.
Yep. Hit the bell notification to be notified when we go live. We are also trying to make more long form content. So if you guys have anything that you'd like to see inside of a long form content, if you guys have any things that you'd like for us to talk about on any Mastermind Mondays, please drop that in the chat. If you'd like to be a part of the show again, please send an email to the email that's inside of here. I think it's social@brownspressurewashing.com. It's inside of there. So we appreciate you guys so much and look forward to next week. Until then,
peace.